This little golf cart on steroids is the 2012 Mitsubishi i-Miev, Mitsubishi's electric car. Let's take a look and check the tech. The i-Miev is based on a car that Mitsubishi sells in Japan. Originally, it's a gas engine car with a very small 660cc gas engine in back. Now, it's been converted to electricity for the Mi-EV version, but it's part of Japan's class. They call it the K-car class, which means it's very small. It's really just designed for cities. As you can see, like, these wheels are only 15 inches and they're tiny. They do have low rolling resistance, which will work well for an electric car. It'll make it get better range. You also have 4 doors too, which in this case, it's really just intended for 4 people. You put too much weight in, it's going to put a lot of stress on the electric motor. Now, as the i-Miev is rear-wheel drive, the electric motor is back under here. We can actually lift up this compartment and lift up this panel here and take a look at what they call the motor room. Although we don't really see an electric motor here. The 49 kilowatt electric motor is buried under these control electronics. Buried further back in there is the lithium-ion battery pack. That's 16 kilowatt hours. It's supposed to get you 63 miles according to the EPA estimates. Now, this is the port where you recharge the i-Miev. Just pop open the hatch, pull open the plug port, and plug in the adapter that Mitsubishi provides for you. And you can leave it charging overnight. On a 110, it'll take about 22.5 hours to give this car a full charge from a dead battery. Now, you can also recharge it off a 240 volt outlet. That'll only take 7.5 hours, so that's more like an overnight charge right there. Now, in our version of the i-Miev, we've got the $3,000 premium package, which includes this head unit here. Now, this head unit is pretty standard aftermarket stuff, and you see this in some other Mitsubishi cars. But the funny thing is, this isn't really tailored for an electric car. For example, I've got the navigation system here. Hit the menu, hit the points of interest, and there's my list of gas stations. Not very useful for this car. And there's no list of electric charging stations either, which would be helpful. The maps are pretty good looking on this system. They're actually stored on a hard drive, which also means you get space for music on the system as well, and there's iPod integration. You also have phone integration here. And this navigation system also shows traffic. Now, this head unit also has a CD player, but you won't see a slot anywhere along here. You have to push that button, and we get this great kind of thing where the whole panel opens up and there's a slot back here. To get your range and things like that, you've got to go to the instrument cluster. Now, this is a pretty cool looking instrument cluster, and you've got a digital readout for the speed right in the middle here. You also have just the one gauge, which flips over and shows you when you're using power and when you're recharging. But to see your range and how many miles you've driven and all that good trip information, this one little gauge over here on the right. Now, Mitsubishi put the tweeters on the dashboard here, both one on the left, one on the right, facing back into the car's cabin. A lot of cars will have them on the A-pillars here facing across, which isn't a great placement for creating a good sound field. Putting them in front of the cabin is much better. Now, of course, here we have our old friend, the shifter, but being an electric car, it doesn't go to any kind of transmission. And of course, we can put it in reverse, neutral, drive. Then we have an eco mode, and then a B mode too. B, of course, engine braking, which will maximize the regeneration. We'll try that out on the road later. One of the key things about this car are the different drive modes. So right now I got it in D, which is just standard drive, and you get pretty good acceleration. Then if you put it in the eco mode, it really takes a lot of the edge off that throttle, and it's really hard to get speed built up quickly. That'll save you a lot of juice on the battery, and it also instigates a lot more braking regeneration too. So as soon as I let off, it really starts to slow drastically, and the needle on the gauge here goes right into the blue zone, which indicates it's recharging the battery. Now, the other mode, the last mode we have here, is the B, braking mode. And that is best for if you're going downhill. That'll maximize the regeneration from the brakes to the battery. And it actually doesn't detune the throttle at all, which is nice, especially if you're on hills or going in hill situations. But as soon as I lift off, it just immediately goes to maximum recharge. It's pulling as much electricity as possible from the wheels into the battery. This car looks kind of like a golf cart on the outside, and it drives kind of like a golf cart too. It's got the electric drivetrain, so it's a very linear acceleration, very quiet driving experience. But with the small tires and the really city-designed car, it doesn't feel particularly stable. When you get up to high speeds on the freeway, it really feels a little scary, especially if you have wind and things like that. They're going to pull it all over the place. At speeds below 40 miles per hour, it's fine, so it'll work great in, a city or a suburban environment. With its range of 63 miles, the 2012 Mitsubishi i-Miev is really good as a city car for the suburbs. It goes on sale later this year for a base price of $31,125. Our car here is optioned up to $34,215. And with a federal tax credit of $7,500, various state credits you can probably find depending on where you live, you can get this car into the low 20s, which is a pretty good price for a modern electric car.